My name is Nora Vale, and the year my life split cleanly into before and after was the one I turned 14. If you ask me to pinpoint the exact moment my family decided I no longer mattered, it wasn't some dramatic argument or tearful goodbye. It was a pale yellow note left on the kitchen counter. Staying with friends, back in 10 days, love you, no signature, no explanation, just my mother's careful handwriting. Neat, distant, final. They left for San Diego early on the morning of my birthday. My older sister, Maribel Vale, posted a photo at the airport with a white carry on and a caption about family adventures. My younger sister, Tessa Vale, followed it with sun and ocean emojis. I sat on the front steps with my school bag pressed against my legs, convinced the note was temporary. That someone would come back for me, an aunt, a neighbor, anyone. No one did. By nightfall, the streetlights blinked on, and a passing dog barked like I didn't belong on my own porch. I heated a frozen wrap I didn't even like and ate standing up, pretending the hum of the microwave counted as company. On day 2, I told myself it was a misunderstanding. By day 5, a different thought crept in, quiet and terrifying. Maybe this wasn't an accident. Being the middle child had always meant existing in the gaps. Maribel was the achiever, trophies, honors, applause. Tessa was the favorite. Dance lessons, themed birthdays, endless photos. I was reliable, which adults used when they meant invisible, but being left behind on purpose created a new kind of silence. On the 7th day, I walked out of the public library with a stack of borrowed books piled against my chest like armor. The heat rippled off the pavement, blurring everything, even my shadow. That's when a dark gray sedan eased to the curb, its windows lowering smoothly, like something from a life that didn't include leftovers and locked doors. "Nora," a voice said, startled. I recognized it halfway. Uncle Victor, the wealthy one, the relative who stopped attending holidays before I hit double digits. My mother always called him arrogant. I later learned that was her word for someone who enforces boundaries. His gaze took in my sagging backpack, sweat, plastered hair, and the smile I wore like armor. "Why are you out here alone?" he asked. "Where are your parents?" "California," I said. The word sounded ridiculous, like I'd told him they moved to another planet. "And you're here," he muttered, mostly to himself. Whatever he said next wasn't meant for me. Then he opened the door. "Get in. You're not walking anywhere tonight." Every warning about strangers rang in my head, but hunger argued louder. 3 nights of instant soup and dry crackers had taught me something important. Neglect is its own kind of danger. His car smelled like leather and something clean and expensive, not perfume, just money that hadn't gone stale. He drove us to a roadside diner with cracked vinyl booths and pies under glass domes. When a burger and thick chocolate shake landed in front of me, I stared like they might disappear if I blinked too long. He didn't rush me, he let me eat first, then he asked about school, friends, what I liked, history. I said, mostly the parts people get wrong. That earned a small, thoughtful smile, like he'd just uncovered something important. When we reached my street, he didn't park. He kept the engine running. "Pack a bag," he said. I blinked. "What?" "You're not staying alone in a dark house while your parents shop for souvenirs." "Pack, Nora. Some moments reveal hidden hinges in the world." That was one of them. His house felt unreal. Quiet, spacious, intentional. The guest bed looked too perfect to touch. I sat on the edge, terrified of wrinkling the blanket. He leaned in the doorway. "Planning to sleep sitting up?" he asked. I whispered that I didn't want to mess anything up. "They're sheets," he said gently. "They can be washed. Things are meant to be used, not feared." Morning came with orange juice in an actual glass. At home, our cups were plastic souvenirs from trips I hadn't been invited on. I held the glass like it might shatter under judgment. "It's juice, not a contract," he teased. "Drink." When my school asked who would attend my review meeting, he answered instantly, "I will." Those 2 words loosened something knotted tight inside me. I didn't know how to receive generosity. I hid price tags, saved lunch money instead of eating. Spending felt like trespassing. 12 days later, he found me crouched in the kitchen at midnight with a cereal box. practicing to become nocturnal. He asked. I admitted I didn't want to take too much. He heated pasta, set it in front of me, and said, "If it's in this house, it belongs to everyone who lives here. That includes you." I nodded, swallowing the ache in my throat. Crying felt wasteful. Weeks passed, no calls, no messages. My sisters filled social media with beach photos and captions about togetherness. My name never appeared. Uncle Victor attended meetings, bought a desk so I didn't study on the floor, scheduled appointments I didn't know kids were supposed to have. He called it maintenance, like I was something worth preserving. At 14, I still tested limits. One night I came home late, expecting anger. He handed me food instead. "Glad you're alive," he said. "Next time text, or I'll assume you fell into a ditch and start digging." It wasn't rage, it was care with structure. Sometimes he took me to his office and told me to watch how people spoke. "Tone and presence do half the work," he said once. "The rest is showing up." That winter, instead of a token gift, he gave me a leather-bound notebook with my initials embossed. "Write what you notice," he said. "Especially the small things." That night, my phone buzzed with a photo. My parents and sisters in matching pajamas beside a perfect tree. No message, no tag. I opened the journal and wrote, "Things are meant to be used, not feared. If it's in this house, it belongs to me too. I belong here." The words felt borrowed, but warm. By the time I turned 15, Uncle Victor had two conclusions about me. My posture was terrible, and beneath it, I carried promise. "Stand straight," he'd say. "You're not background noise." Eventually, pretending confidence turned into something real, and I didn't know it yet. But everything that followed would trace back to a diner booth, a quiet house, and a man who decided I was worth keeping. Uncle Victor's office felt like a different ecosystem: pressed suits, polished desks, people who moved as if confidence bent gravity in their favor. During introductions, when my shoulders tightened, he leaned in and murmured, "Relax. Everyone gets dressed one leg at a time. Some trip doing it." I laughed, and just like that, the fear loosened. "One leg at a time" became our code whenever I started shrinking myself. He taught me lessons no classroom ever mentioned. How to listen without rushing to reply. How to hear what people meant, not just what they said. How to shake a hand with intention. Half the world is bluffing. He once told me quietly, "The other half apologizes for taking up space. Learn to be neither." That was the first moment I realized my future could be more than survival. By 17, the contrast between where I came from and where I stood felt sharp enough to cut. Maribel's feed overflowed with college acceptance posts, tagging everyone except me. Tessa posed beside a brand new car, captioned "Thanks, Mom and Dad," her smile glossy as the paint. I stared at the screen while Uncle Victor brewed tea. "They don't even check in," I said. "Not even on my birthday." He didn't look up. "How long?" he asked calmly. "Are you going to wait for them to remember you?" The question cracked the room open. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. That night, I stopped waiting for the past to turn around and started the harder work, remembering myself. Before senior prom, Uncle Victor handed me a small box. Inside was a thin silver bracelet engraved with a single N. "Don't chase approval," he said. "That's borrowed. Chase peace. Peace is yours to keep." I laughed and told him he sounded like a fortune cookie. "Then open it before it goes stale," he replied. That night, under strings of lights and music louder than talent, I laughed without checking who noticed. No invisible leash, no fridge notes promising returns, just me, unfinished but real for the first time. College had never been part of my parents' plan for me. Maribel was the scholar, Tessa the star. I was expected to be practical. Uncle Victor didn't hand me tuition. He handed me responsibility. We sat for hours at the kitchen table, buried in forms and spreadsheets. Scholarships first, grants second, he insisted. I fill gaps, not foundations. So I hunted, I applied to everything. Earned, obscure, ridiculous. I stitched together a future piece by piece. When the acceptance letter from Redwood State University arrived, Uncle Victor read it like a deal he'd personally closed. "Congratulations," he said steadily, pride bright in his eyes. "Now go prove them right." Move-in day was chaos. Parents crying, balloons bouncing, arms full of boxes. Mine didn't come, not even a message. Uncle Victor carried everything up 3 flights in the August heat, refusing the heavy boxes. Annual workout. He joked, "Don't tell my trainer." When the room was set, he noticed my silence. "Don't look for them here," he said softly. "Look forward. That's where you're going." Before leaving, he slipped me an envelope. Inside was a note. "If you ever doubt you belong, look in the mirror. You got here without them." I kept it with me all 4 years. College was hard. I felt like an intruder. Second-hand shoes, detergent. Scented bags, borrowed confidence. Uncle Victor called every Sunday without fail. So, Dean's List, barely. Good, struggle sharpens. His voice steadied me. Sophomore year, I met Evan Brooks while volunteering at a community garden. He knew what he was doing. I pretended I did. He offered to teach me. I teased him. Eventually, we became something real. Slow, respectful, solid. One night during finals, he asked why I double-checked everything. Because for a long time, I said quietly, I was the mistake nobody fixed. He didn't offer clichés. He just held my hand. "Then we won't overlook you again." By junior year, an old fear resurfaced. Evan's ex, Clara, reappeared, charming, polished, always performing. When I learned they'd met for coffee, the old reflex flared. Replacement, erasure. Then Uncle Victor's words echoed. "Bluff or apologize." Do neither, so I didn't accuse or beg. I simply said, next time, let her find someone else's generosity. Evan nodded, no defensiveness, that was enough. Senior year arrived like a delayed sunrise. I graduated in civil engineering, the discipline Uncle Victor once called the art of building what lasts. He sat in the front row, clapping loud enough to pause the dean. Afterward, he handed me a simple silver pen. "Use it to sign work you're proud of." That night, I reread my old journal. One line pulsed like a heartbeat. "If it's in this house, it belongs to everyone inside it." That house wasn't walls anymore. It was my life. After graduation, I joined a small engineering firm. Nothing flashy but solid. Evan found work nearby. For once, the road ahead felt like mine. Every Friday, Uncle Victor and I had dinner. He'd lift his glass and tease, "Look at you, Miss Vale, climbing without tripping." I'd laugh, give it time. What I didn't want to see were the pauses, the fatigue, the way he rubbed his shoulder, the moments he searched for words. I told myself it was just time passing. I didn't realize it was the quiet opening act to everything about to change, because the strongest people don't collapse all at once. They fade first, softly, gracefully, until you realize you're holding what they once carried. It didn't happen all at once. That was the dangerous part. Uncle Victor started canceling our Friday dinners, brushing it off with excuses about work being rough lately, words I'd never heard him use before. Then one evening, when I stopped by without warning, I found him asleep in his armchair before 9. The television hummed to an empty room. When I touched his shoulder, he startled awake, smiling too fast. "A long day," he said lightly. Guess I blinked too long. But the smile never reached his eyes. Soon, the signs stacked up. Pill bottles crowded the counter. His hand shook when he poured coffee. He repeated stories, then noticed me noticing, and we silently agreed not to name it. Denial became our shared language. He still checked on me, still steady. When I complained about a difficult project at work, he said, "Remember, this companies replace you in days. People don't if you choose wisely." I didn't realize then he was preparing me for a world where his voice might be missing. Months passed. My career strengthened. Evan and I settled into an easy rhythm. But every time Uncle Victor waved off a cough or ignored my concern, something cracked. Then came the call, a Tuesday, early afternoon. "Nora," a shaking voice said, "this is Helen from Mr. Vale's office. He collapsed during a meeting. He's been taken to Harborview Medical Center." The drive blurred into red lights and panic. When I reached his room, he looked impossibly small beneath white sheets. Still, he smiled. "Don't look so grim," he rasped. 5. Star stay if you ignore the food. You scared me, I whispered. He shrugged weakly. Firsts are overrated. After a moment, he squeezed my hand. You know, I always thought your father would teach you these things, standing tall, managing money, speaking without shouting. He paused. I'm glad it was me. Don't talk like that, I said, voice breaking. Like what? I couldn't finish. He gave that familiar half-smile, the one that always made things okay. You exceeded every expectation anyone ever had of you, he said softly. Remember this. You were never the extra piece. I laughed through tears. He smirked. If you cry on these sheets, you're paying the cleaning bill. For a heartbeat, everything felt normal again. He came home days later. Slower, quieter. We never spoke about the scare, but we both knew something had shifted. That last Christmas, he handed me a gold-draped box. Inside was the same leather journal he'd given me years ago. Only now, every page was filled. Notes, jokes, advice, old receipts taped in with comments like best burger of 2016. Still not worth it. The final page stopped my breath. If they ever try to erase you again, remember, you already wrote your own chapter. You've been writing this all along. I asked. He shrugged. Couldn't let you have all the good lines. I hugged him, not carefully. He laughed, telling me I'd crack a rib. I held on anyway, because somehow I knew. When the call came months later, I didn't answer right away. The phone buzzed again, then again. Nora, Helen whispered, I'm so sorry, Victor passed away in his sleep. The world went quiet. The days that followed dissolved into paperwork and grief. He'd named me executor. Of course he had. I knew the details that mattered, the tie he hated, the flowers he despised. White roses only. The service was small, elegant, perfect, and then they arrived. My parents Marable, Tessa, dressed for attention. My mother hid behind dark glasses. My father shook hands, speaking of family loss. When they saw me, their faces twisted through shock and calculation. We had no idea you were so close, my mother said. You never asked. I replied. Jasmine, polished as ever, asked softly, do you know when the will is read? That was when I knew. The messages followed. Calls, DMs, fake warmth. Then the attorney called. The reading is Monday. Mr. Reynolds said, your uncle was. Precise. The law office smelled of leather and old money. Heavy curtains, dark wood. Chairs that demanded posture. My family sat opposite me, vibrating with expectation. Mr. Reynolds cleared his throat. To my relatives who remembered me only when it suited them, I leave nothing. Silence shattered the room. Then to my niece Nora Vale, abandoned at 14 but never absent since, I leave everything. Marable gasped. My father accused. Tessa pleaded. I rested my hand on the journal. You did this yourselves. I said calmly. The day you left me, the will is airtight. Mr. Reynolds said, any challenge will be dismissed. I stood, thank you. This isn't over. Marable hissed. It ended when you stopped calling me your sister. Outside, the air felt new. Later that week, I stood on the balcony of Victor's house, my house now. City lights pulsing below. Evan wrapped an arm around me, full circle. He asked. I nodded, yeah. I opened the journal one last time and smiled. I kept writing. I whispered, and for the first time the story belonged entirely, irrevocably, to me.